So, Trump moving out of the Iran deal. Not at all surprising. He always said he would. And back when the deal was initially negotiated, it was very much to the disapproval of Republicans in Congress. So, there was nothing that was unpredictable about this move. Now, what I do find interesting, though, is how the same people who seem to want Assad removed in Syria seem to want to stick with the Iran deal. And the reason for why that is a little bit baffling to me is that Iran, the current regime in Iran, and Assad's regime are strategic allies. So if you want to remove Assad, then why do you want to prop up his ally? By basically funneling in cash there and opening everything up, etc., etc. Now, another point that has often come into discussion, and I do admit I do not know the full detail of that, and is a question of or an accusation that Iran isn't really fully committed to comply with the what many would consider vague terms that are in the deal. So, if that is the case, that it's a fairly simple deal for Iran to comply with, and they're not doing the work, then surely I can understand why anyone would want to revisit that whole idea. Another question is, again, going back to the same people criticizing one over the other, and a lot of the same people think that this deal will be sufficient to get Iran to move away from their nuclear program. They somehow then turn around and say, "Oh no, but of course DPRK is not going to get rid of its bombs. No, no, no. Kim is keeping his nukes. He's playing us." So it's almost as if they wanted the Iran deal to be a success and the Korea deal not to be a success, and that's where it just looks like just orthodox. Uh, Political partisan pandering to me, because quite frankly, if this level of inconsistency comes up as it appears to be doing, then if the Korea deal had happened under Obama and then the Iran deal would have happened under Trump, maybe the whole debate would look and sound a little bit different now, wouldn't it? And that's where this really becomes a huge concern to me, because quite frankly, all these people who are voicing themselves, and myself included, we're legal voters and citizens in various Western countries, and we have a saying in our political whole shebang, and our democracies and our policies, and it's just a little bit scary when we're not really dedicating ourselves to be responsible voters, if you will, responsible citizens with that power of the vote, uh, because this degree of inconsistency. I mean, first of all, I don't trust Western leaders to have any single idea what they're doing down in the Middle East. And to a large degree, I trust bad players in the Middle East and disingenuous players to know a lot more how to play the West, how to play the fact that the United States runs a policy that a home defense policy that would rather secure strategic interests and national interests abroad than on home turf, and the fact that NATO is a respectable alliance, and well, respectable depends on how you look at it, but a force to be reckoned with, and the fact that the UN likes to think that it can just walk in and pander in things everywhere. As if it has any clue what it does as well. I have very little faith in the UN at this point. So, this is the question that I pose to us who really want to be respectable and honorable voters and citizens, and quite frankly, have a care for the world. Do we want to just go out there and vote without a sense of a vision for something? Because, if you're speaking out about all these issues and policies down in the Middle East while having no single clue of consistency, no single grasp of how much of a proxy situation this is, and what you envision as an final outcome, and you're voting in one side to do things that are counterintuitive to what you voted, the policy you voted for, doing somewhere else. I mean, this is just it's it's scary and it's nonsense. And quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, we have no right to vote on whether other people live or die. Quite frankly, but that is just my take. And I feel like if we're gonna just be inconsistent and not think critically and not try and envision what a realistic strategy would be if we are going to be pro pro interference, which I'm not. I think that at this point, the degree to which some players down in the Middle East and various other countries have developed the skill to make use of the West as and kind of play the West as their own mercenaries, I think we shouldn't give any of them what they want. But that is just me. But yeah, if you want to be on the side of intervention, then surely you should at least get yourself informed enough to develop a realistic strategy or vision for yourself. What do you want to see realized, and how do you want to make that realistic? Because quite frankly, at this point, if you're um, voting for policies that conflict each other and take each other down, and just keep the situation going the way it's been going, then you're not doing an awful lot of good in the world with your vote. So yeah, so I question all of this quite a bit, and it is a concern. I think if people want to be pro intervention, they need to get versed in geopolitics, and they need to get out of the partisan tracks on both sides. Get out of the partisan tracks and just say, okay, if I'm going to be voting for something, I'm going to know it, and I'm going to speak out about it, and I'm going to have at least a theory. Do I think that any Westerner is equipped to have a theory of how to do this or an approach? No, not at all. And I, for one, wouldn't craft one. But if you are going to deem yourself capable of that, then and throw away your humility, then yeah, absolutely, develop some kind of a strategy. Because and first and foremost, just try and get versed from every angle, because this is a very, very complicated situation. It's been decades in the making and decades unfolding, and it's just ugly. It's impossible to understand. There are very many different players who, we don't know who's on the side of who at this point, and then whatnot. It's just really, really complicated. So yes, I do get a little bit concerned when I see people talking out inconsistently in terms of policy and strategy, because they're being consistent along partisan lines, and those partisan lines aren't consistent in terms of policy, which is why Western politics and Western military and financial intervention hasn't been all that successful and productive, and hasn't brought about much worthy of peace, if you will. So yeah, those are my 2 cents for now. It's just baffling to see everybody so willing to talk out of their rear end, if you will, and nobody's really seems to be willing to take the time and dedicate the time to really get down and gritty, and actually study this stuff, because it's a lot of work. I'll admit it. I know quite a bit, not enough, but quite a bit, and it's taken a lot of hours, a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of reading and watching everything from every angle. It's been just overall a whole bunch of work, and I'm still in no place. I have the humility to understand that this is way beyond me. So it is not for me to make any decisions. I think at this point, not intervention to the best that we could do it, because we're not fit to do the intervention. No, I know a lot of people will say, "Well, we have interests down there." Well, yeah, we probably do, and but so do these people who actually live down there. They have interests too, and the thing is that at some point you got to say, well, if we're not fit to protect interests over here, then Western companies, Western citizens, Western players, we cannot guarantee your safety and your interests down here. So if you want to stay, you're on your own. If you want to move back, then move back. That's also a very tough call, but maybe we're approaching that place, and or maybe that approach would actually boost those people down there who actually want to be trading globally and want to be building societies wherein actually people of other backgrounds and cultures can come in and do their thing and thrive and it can sort of trot along. Maybe that will actually help them get some reforms that make make them more capable of giving everything that they can give to the world, and then more capable of being a whole part of this whole thing that we've got going on called the global whatever trading ground. Call it what you like it, but yeah, it's just this stuff is just a mess, and I don't like it one bit. And if we're gonna be doing anything, any action you put out into this world, you're responsible for at the end of the day, and even as a voter, you are responsible. So do keep that in mind. Anyways, that's enough on that for now. Plenty of rambling. Biking out.